They're in there. Wow, look at that one. And this one, but isn't that cool? Hello, welcome back to Sage and Stone Homestead. My name is Heather. So you might have noticed in the title of this video that this is day one of Vlogmas. So if you're not interested in hearing about Vlogmas, go ahead and go to this timestamp to see just the garden. But this is the first day of December, and a few of you probably have heard of Vlogmas. What Vlogmas is certain creators that feel like they want to post daily content in December, do so between December 1st and then Christmas. And the whole intent behind it is just to bring joy. So usually these pieces of content have a little bit of a Christmassy flair or a Christmassy theme, and I have loved the Vlogmas videos that I have seen on other channels, and I felt like this year I wanted to participate. So I did poll you guys to see what you guys thought of Vlogmas, and many of you were mostly just concerned about the burnout aspect that can happen when you're posting that often. And I hear that, and I understand that that could absolutely be a thing, and I don't want to either me get burned out or for like the quality to decline and make you guys just kind of not see the point. Like if I'm seeing you every day but the content quality really isn't as great, is it really worth it? So what I'm doing with my Vlogmas contribution is I am going to post daily content. Some of it might be shorts. If I don't have time to do daily content, I might go live. We'll have to see. But each individual video is going to be shorter than you're used to so that the quality can stay the same. And I think that's a pretty good compromise. If we hate it, we don't have to do it again. But I wanted to try it out this year, so I'm excited. So today, the day of filming is November 29th, and we have had quite a few hard freezes since our first frost date, which was around the end of October. We are usually on time for our first frost, but I don't think we normally see this many hard freezes. It's been a lot, and unfortunately, we have a pretty major casualty in here in the greenhouse. It just got too cold for this tomato, and so she's a goner. So this volunteer plant has been well loved all season. She does have a few offerings, oops, before she sees her way out until next year, undoubtedly, because these little cherry tomatoes fall off pretty readily. They really love to come back, so we'll see her again soon. The tomato almost tasted fermented. Interesting. So we have the dead side of the greenhouse and we have the living side of the greenhouse. We're gonna focus most of our attention over here today. Actually, I lied. There's some living things in this row and we'll look at those as well. But over here, my eye is drawn to the Brussels sprouts, which have gotten so big. I'm so excited about this, you guys. I think it was our last garden tour I had talked about how I treated these plants with BT because I was noticing some cabbage looper damage. And someone had mentioned that, you know what, Heather, it kind of looks like flea beetle damage. And it does, actually. It does look like we may be dealing with flea beetles in here as well. I had physically seen and picked off some cabbage loopers from the cauliflower in this row right here, but we could easily be dealing with both. Right now, we are, like I said, entering the cooler time of year, so I don't think that I necessarily need to worry about treating these anymore unless I'm starting to see a really devastating problem. These plants do have a few holes, but they're doing well, so I'm just gonna leave them alone. When we start to see Brussels sprouts come in on these plants, they're gonna come in right at this like armpit section right here on the leaf node. This in here, can you see that little tiny cluster right in there, right where the leaf meets the stem? That is a bitty baby Brussels sprout. This plant has them too. Can you see? They're in there. They're real tiny. Tiny but mighty. I'm really excited. Cauliflower's looking lovely. You can see where we had some of the cabbage looper damage on the outside leaves here, but the newer leaves that have come in don't have any damage, so that's a good thing. Looks like the treatments have been working. Over here we have some broccoli. Not every plant is doing amazingly in here. This one is quite tiny and stunted. I don't think we're gonna get anything out of that one. But up along here, they start to look a lot better, a lot bigger. I can't say that I'm not a little bit worried that these broccoli plants are gonna go to seed, but so far it doesn't look like it. They are looking a little bit long, which is usually one of the telltale signs that they are thinking about flowering instead of forming a head. I like them to stay compact, and I don't know. I'm still not sure what these are gonna do. Very exciting things happening here on the pea trellis. Now, I did notice that some of the little tendrils and leaves are looking kind of droopy. This easily could have been because of the freeze that we had. Most everything that's in the greenhouse right now is frost tolerant, to include these peas, down to a pretty low number. Usually peas can handle somewhere in about low 20s, upper teens, but because they've been in the greenhouse, they're not super well acclimated to severe dips in temperature. So that frost, that freeze that came in here and killed that tomato, it did kind of negatively impact that particular pea, but I think most of them are fine, and that one's probably going to bounce back. Which is awesome because we are starting to see some flowers. Let's see. That one looks spent. I don't want to pull it off. Huh. There we go. It's kind of crunched up in there. See? Got a little pea pod coming on. It's very cool to have had such a hard freeze overnight, but still wake up to blooms. This one does look a little bit damaged potentially from freeze, so I don't know. We'll see. Wow, look at that one. Holy cow. I didn't even notice that down there. But you see, it's kind of almost got this weird lacy pattern. I do wonder if this is from the freeze. Don't know. Aw, this poor little sad tomato. That's a goner. The calendula that I started from seed are starting to look really good. When these get a little bit bigger, I will be pinching off the tops of them to encourage them to bush out, but they're still too small for that yet. Maybe next garden tour. Carrot and rutabaga bed. This is the first season for this particular bed. We filled this bed with stuff from our farm that we had left over, which was awesome. So a lot of the nutrition in this bed is from the farm. It's from our compost. These plants are also just a little bit droopy. They are not thirsty. I actually watered them yesterday. Let's see here. Rutabaga roots are starting to form, which is great. I think this particular one is the one that I showed you all last week. It's definitely getting bigger. Let's check on some carrots, shall we? Let's see here. Oh, snap the top off, why don't you, Heather? See, we've got decent root size going on down here. I did snap the top off of that one, but believe it or not, that will probably be okay. I've had it happen before where I was growing carrots in our raised bed garden and a rabbit or something came along and chewed off all of the tops of my carrots, and the carrots actually overwintered in the ground, and by springtime the tops came back and then the roots got bigger and we got to harvest them anyway. So roots are pretty resilient and they're getting bigger by the day, so this is exciting. Well, I actually stuck down some fertilizer spikes in next to these red cabbages 2 weeks ago, and they've responded beautifully. And this one here is a cauliflower. These look great as well. So over here in the seed trays, I actually have a couple plants that I probably should just shove in the ground. I guess we can probably do that. But this here is a pretty good side-by-side comparison. So we have a cauliflower plant that's been in the seedling pot for a long time, and then we have a plant that's been allowed to stretch out its roots and take up adequate amounts of nutrition. And you can see these plants are the same age, but they're pretty distinctly different sizes. Let's grab this. So I have a cabbage plant here that's really puny. It had some bug damage. It did not handle being transplanted well, so we're just gonna put that out of its misery. And then put this stunted cauliflower in its place. This looks, you know, significantly better than that cabbage did, and so it's got some hope. We're gonna shove it in there and give it a chance. There you go, darling. This here is a pot-bound Brussels sprout. That's what you call it when a plant is basically getting suffocated by not having enough room in the pot. It's pot-bound, and you can see this is a more dramatic difference. So these plants are the same age. Same deal with this sad cabbage plant. We'll just pull that out. R.I.P. See, the roots are kind of starting to grow around the bottom of the pot there. They've got more room to spread out in the ground for sure. There we go. Now my hands are properly dirty. It would not be a garden tour without messy hands. So over here on the dead side of the greenhouse, we do have this lima bean plant, which was affected by the freeze. I can't tell quite yet if this is going to die. It kind of does seem like it now that I'm bending over it and looking a little bit closer. The leaves are just kind of translucent and almost wet looking, so probably by tomorrow it's not going to look very good, which is a little bit sad. This had been trying to put on more beans. See, we had some flowers and tiny beans here, but pretty sure that's going to be dead. These two plants over here, these are lima beans as well. These are dead for sure, but They matured some of their pods before they went out, so we've got to come back here and get some of these. Now these ones are probably less ready. Oftentimes when a plant can really detect that its life is nearing its end, they will try to rapidly mature their seeds, because that's the whole point of them growing. They really just want to grow so that they can reproduce, and these actually look really good. See here, these two look good. There's a chance that these wouldn't be as viable to use as a seed as, you know, the other ones are that are in the hard and dry shell. These ones are probably better to keep for seed, but these are absolutely edible. See, you can see the difference here pretty well. We have the dried ones, and then these ones are not quite dry. That green one is likely not viable at all, but like I said, totally edible. Ooh, I just noticed that the tromboncino that I had sitting here curing, these have some like clearish spots. This looks like it got affected by the freeze. Well, that's a bummer. It's all right, I've got lots of these inside. We had a really good year for squash. These guys look good. These are very, very light. This is the first year that I've grown birdhouse gourds. These ones are really little. But I'm actually kind of surprised with how light and delicate these are. Let's go over to the raised bed garden. I've got some bigger ones over there. They're not looking so good. So the birdhouse gourds that I have curing in here, slowly but surely, they keep getting broken into. I can't remember which one of these I said we would try to open up and maybe like process this week, but it might have been this one. But every couple of days I'm noticing that there's more and more potential, very likely rodent damage on these, and there's not a lot I can do about that. I'm not willing to put these inside my house to cure, mostly because of all of the nasty stuff growing on the outside of them. I don't want that to affect the air quality in our house. Maybe we could hang them somewhere to not be seen by the rodents. This one's kind of wet. It's gross. I do have some that are still hanging on the trellis over on the lane, the part of our garden where we grew melons and things this year. We did not go back and look at that today, but those guys might stand a chance just because they are up off of the ground, kind of away from where rodents will likely try to get to them, but who knows. So we'll see. This project is still a big maybe. Look at this. Last week we were walking around the garden and I had this loofah sitting out, and I said, oh, I need to clean that up before it gets nasty. And then I never did, and guess what? It didn't get nasty. It actually kind of did what you wanted them to do. It dried up, it flaked off, and now we have this really intact loofah sponge, which I have not had the opportunity to really see this year at all, because what I've been doing with my loofahs, I've just been cutting them open and laying them flat. Can you see all the seeds down in there? The reason that I had been cutting them open and laying them flat is apparently these seeds are really hard to get out, but I may just try it with this one, because it would be cool to leave some of them intact like this and cut into rounds. Oh! Oh! Look at the seeds! Oh! These are nice and dark. I kind of wonder if these are gonna be viable. Oh, this is cool. I'm dropping them everywhere. Oh, hang on. There's gonna be so many volunteers of the birdhouse gourd and of loofah next year. I just know it. This is what I see people doing online. Look at that. Oh man, that is so cool. Okay. There's just seeds flying everywhere. See, sometimes it does pay to procrastinate. I don't hear anything else rattling around in there. What? I think I might have gotten it all. So we have these seeds, and from what I've been told, the lighter colored seeds are not viable, but the darker ones could be, especially if they are not like paper thin, and these are not. So I'll have to run a germination test on some of these. I do have loofah seed inside that was given to me by So Right Seed, so I do have plenty of seed. The seed that you save at home from your plants is going to be more adapted to your area. There's going to be little changes that the plants detected from where they were grown originally for seed, and they're going to be more adaptable for the area that they were grown in. So it's more ideal, if you can, to save your own seeds. You're going to have healthier plants ultimately in the long run as you keep saving seed. Okay, we've got to cut this open. Sorry, squirrel. This side is a little bit weaker, but it starts to get pretty substantial right about here. Cool. 1.5 inches. See, and that's how the sponge looks round. So here's the difference. This is what I've been doing. I've been flaying them open like this and letting them dry so that I can turn them into square sponges like this. But then this is them kind of in their natural cut state. Very pretty. Very cool. I like both. While we are in here though, I do remember that I was going to update you on the microgreens that I put in the 1020 tray a couple weeks ago. This is the state of them. They are not doing as well as I am used to. You can see all the roots down here. Isn't that cool? And they're getting good drink of water. I have a theory on why they're not doing as well as I am used to. And this is the first time I've tried to grow anything inside of this shed. And we do heat it, but we only keep it to about 50 degrees. As I mentioned, we've been seeing really low temps. And so those probably would be doing better inside with more light and higher temperatures. But they're getting close to being able to be harvestable. I don't think that they're necessarily worth like trying to recuperate this specific batch, but the next batch I'm gonna be doing inside my actual house. So the garden over here, pretty much it just looks like it has for the last couple of weeks. I have not picked a salad though, so you're probably going to notice some growth here, and then these plants here. This is a broccoli. I'm still not quite sure what that is going to do. And I think that these are some cauliflower plants. It could be cabbage. I don't really remember what I put here, but they're a little bit affected by the low temps that we got. However, I did not cover anything in the garden during this freeze, and it's doing awesome. And the difference with this compared to when I covered the plants for a very similar temperature a few weeks ago is that there was some acclimation. They have experienced lower and lower temperatures leading up to the super low temp, and acclimation makes all the difference. A few weeks ago when we covered the plants, I did do a pretty decent chop of these arugula, and these have grown back the fastest out of everything. I do have some elephant garlic that I left inside the ground during the harvest this past summer. So you can probably tell that there's quite a few plants coming up out of this one spot, and that's because there's an entire bulb of elephant garlic under the ground right here that has, you know, started to grow, and it's going to produce more garlic. This is going to be really fun to unearth when it comes time to do that. I'm really interested to see what that's going to look like. There we go. That's one trellis down. And this is not a completed process. These really need to be broken down more than that. And what I'll do is just leave them in the bed like this and then top them with rabbit manure. The rabbit manure is going to help weigh that down, as well as be part of the microbiome that helps break those down. As you can see, there are many tomato ties from a couple years at least past. So you can see here, I ran out of tomato ties and stretchy twine at one point. Got desperate and used zip ties. I was about to say that I'll clean these off later, but this is kind of a testament to the fact that maybe I won't, but it's okay. The ones that do fall, I will go ahead and pick those out, because obviously that's not going to break down. Neither is an old tag for the peppers we grew, or these styrofoam cups that I put around the plants in order to keep the pill bugs away. The amendment and clean out process of a relatively large garden, or even a small garden, can feel like a pretty heavy task after you have such a busy garden and harvest and preserving season. So it's my encouragement to you is don't sweat it. Don't feel like you have to immediately clean up the garden right after the season ends. Take your time. like I do, this is what I do. So every once in a while when I get the itch and it's a nice day out, I'll come and clean out one section of the garden and check that off my list. And by the time it's time to plant again in spring, everything is fresh and amended and ready to do the hard work of growing. Recently I posted a video on the way that we processed our green loofahs. I laid them out and let them dry like I showed you before. If you missed that video and you're interested in seeing kind of the step-by-step how-to on how that works, go ahead and click this video.